going to move to another lady called Bonnie Weston. And look, again, all of our presenters have been magic so far. Bonnie is going to give us some super practical things to be doing. Bonnie is an award winner organizer. She is from the Avid Organiser, and Bonnie's most of her pre-business ownership was in a career of engineering and construction industries. And so during that time, she worked on projects from Xstrata Coal, Rio Tinto, and many other companies in Australia and overseas. And since July 2017, she's run her own administration and organisational business. Bonnie is passionate about helping individuals and small businesses declutter, get organised and stay organised. And she recently moved to Townsville in December of 2020 with her husband and 2 English Staffies. And she says here she loves being in the tropical winter, but is disappointed she can't wakeboard due to the crocodiles. Oh my goodness. So here is the wonderful Bonnie. She's going to talk to us about how to get your life in order.
Welcome everyone. Just bear with me, I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, perfect. So welcome everyone. I hope you've had a fabulous morning at the Business and Life Balance Summit. Today I'll be speaking with you about how you can organise your life without becoming overwhelmed in the process. During the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you some steps you can take to take control of your life admin so it doesn't ruin your weekends. Now, before I start, I'd like to say a big thank you to the organisers of this summit for giving me the opportunity to share with you about my passion for organisation. And I'd also like to thank you for being with me and for committing to find a better way to do business and life balance. So I'm Bonnie Weston from the Avid Organiser, and over my career, I've had the opportunity to see how really big and really small businesses get organised and stay organised successfully. What I've learned is that there's so many business organisational principles that you can adapt to make your life admin as stress-free as possible. Now, during this presentation, I'm actually not going to be checking on the comments. The reason for this is I'd like to actually focus on giving you the best information and the best advice possible. And you'll notice I've prepared some slides. That's because I know that some people learn better when they can actually visualize what they're trying to learn. So I hope that's okay with you. If you'd like to make comments, that's great. Please ask questions, and at the end of the presentation, I'll go through the chat and answer as many questions as I can in the time that we have left. Is that okay with you? Terrific. So today I'm going to be speaking with you about how to organize your life so you don't get overwhelmed in the process. And at the end of my presentation, I'd like to share with you some ways you can get in touch with me if you have any questions or would like more info. And I'm also going to give you access to a free download that gives you some more detail on the steps that I'm talking about today. Is that okay? Awesome. Okay. So I would like to know who here would love to not freak out at the end of every financial year. So we've just finished the end of one financial year. Has anybody had a freak out about trying to do tax returns? I bet there's a few people. And who here would love to know how they can find what they're looking for when they're looking for it? Yeah. And who would really love to have some peace of mind and just know that all their stuff is sorted out? Sound like you? Yeah. So I'm sure there's many of you who answered yes to all of or some of those questions. Perhaps you might feel really stressed and overwhelmed when it comes to end of financial year. Or maybe you've got an appliance that's broken and you know that there's a warranty somewhere. Sound familiar? So what this often leads to is this frantic search through the computer and back through hundreds of thousands of emails trying to find the information about it. And, many people just get overwhelmed simply by having, the pressure of having to find something in a hurry. And this kind of clutter really leads to, I guess, feeling out of control. So I would like to tell you that it doesn't matter how many New Year's resolutions you've made to become more organised, and it doesn't matter how many times you haven't made good on those resolutions. This could be your year. Yeah, and the reason I say this is because organisation is a skill, just like any other skill you learn. All right. So I'd like to share with you about an interesting study I came across. In 2017, there was a study done about procrastination, and what they looked at was the effects of clutter on people. And what they found was the more people had clutter in their home, the more they were likely to employ what they called avoidance and what's the other word? Coping strategies. So they were likely to employ coping and avoidance strategies, which included watching a lot of TV and actually eating a lot of junk food. Anybody relate to that? So of course, there's many people who are really good at living within their own clutter and their own stuff. In fact, you might even know somebody like this. These people often refer to their stuff or their office space as organised chaos. And what this just proves is that there's so many different ways that you can get organised. One of the best ways that I use to help my clients get organised in a way that's logical to them is called functional organisation. And when you employ functional organisation, you can actually adapt to any circumstances and still be able to find what you're looking for when you're looking for it. Ultimately, when we talk about organisation, we are actually talking about productivity. And when we talk about productivity, what we're talking about is time and efficiency. So the more organised you get, the more productivity you have, and the more time you actually have to spend on all the things that you love to do. So for me, when I get organised, it actually allows me to really focus and find peace, and it helps me to relax. So when my house is a real disaster, I struggle to focus on work, and I struggle to focus and relax and spend time with my friends, my family, and my husband. Gretchen Rubin actually summed this up really well for me. Now, she said, outer calm contributes to inner peace. Anybody like to find their inner peace as well as their outer calm? I'm sure there is. Okay, I'd like to share with you a story about one of my clients and her experience of functional organisation. Now, this lady is an exceptionally successful businesswoman. She is a very hands-on kind of person, so she's really involved in everything she does. And along with her business, she also has a community group that she runs, and the community group requires her to spend a lot of time with volunteers and liaise with them. She's also on quite a few boards of non-profit organisations within Australia and overseas. Because she's so passionate about, this community that she's built, she spends a lot of time applying for grants, finding and applying for grants, because she wants to make it a better community. She's an exceptionally professional woman who became very overwhelmed by the state of her office. When she called me, she had actually ripped out the entire contents of her office and dumped it in the hallway. That's how desperate and overwhelmed she had become. So when she first called me, we sat down and had a chat, and what I found out was that she'd previously employed an organisational consultant who had more or less told her that she needed to make everything digital and ditch all the paperwork. Now, this really didn't work for my client because she really likes paperwork. She likes to be able to write notes. She likes to be able to sift through them, organise them. That's just how she functions best. So what we did was we mapped out a system together to give her a filing system that was easy to navigate and logical for her to navigate, and also easy to maintain. We applied a lot of functional organisation principles and a heck of a lot of elbow grease, and we got there. So now when she walks into her office, instead of being really overwhelmed, she actually enjoys being in that space. And this is the reason why I do what I do. So today we are talking about how you can get more organised without becoming overwhelmed. Now, earlier in my presentation, I spoke about life admin, or I referred to life admin, and you might be wondering, Bonnie, what is life admin? Life admin is things like utilities and insurances, mortgage documents, school reports, medical reports, health information. What else do we have? Receipts for taxation, information about assets and investments, and even your photos and videos. Life admin is all about the data and the information that you need to get through life. So, are you ready to find out how you can get more organised and not have your life admin take control of you? Awesome. So the steps that I'm going to share with you, they are geared towards digital information because most of our information comes through digitally these days, often by email. But you can actually apply these to any sort of paperwork system as well. So our first step, get a filing system. So the reason we need a filing system is because the computer desktop approach doesn't work forever. So the first time you need to quickly find something or save something, putting it on the computer desktop seems like a great idea. You might only have 2 or 3 things there. It's really easy to locate the thing you're looking for. However, if you do this 20 times, 50 times, 80 times, you can imagine that your computer desktop is full of information and it just becomes really hard to find anything. I'm sure lots of people can relate to that too. So I like to think of the filing structure as the bones of the body. It's what helps us navigate what goes where. Without the bones of the body, everything just gets messed up together. So a great way to start your filing system is to set up some digital folders. And in this instance, you can see on the screen that these are 2 different ways just to view the one system. If we're talking about home life admin, we might create a folder called home. And under that folder called home, we can think of 3 other major areas that we want to, that we have information about. It might be children, it could be study, and let's say household. So household, children, and study are the 3 main sort of areas of info that you need to keep track of. And under household, you might actually set up another layer of folders. And these are just examples. That might be taxation, mortgage, and utilities. The idea is that when we categorize information and we create layers, it actually helps us to avoid all the information that's irrelevant. So in this case, if I was looking for some information about my mortgage, I know that I can completely avoid the folders called children and study. Children and study actually have nothing to do with household and they have nothing to do with the mortgage. So when you get this kind of system, it actually just helps you zone in on the information you need and disregard everything else. And in this way, this is how you start saving a few seconds, a few minutes at a time. And over the course of the year, you save a lot of time. So the next thing I'd just like to quickly mention on this is that it doesn't matter where you set up your filing system. Predominantly, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can look at a cloud-based system, which could be something like Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, iCloud. There are a few sort of the well-known ones. Or you could look at a localized system, which might be on your computer hard drive, on a USB stick, or on an external hard drive. Now, both of these have pros and cons. So the pro of the cloud-based system is that you can access these files anywhere you have the internet. Essentially, there's usually apps for them, or you can log in from anybody's computer, which is great. The downside of that is that you're probably more likely to have your information accessed without your permission. Not saying that's going to happen, but that is a chance. For the hard drive system or the localized filing system, the benefit is that there is less chance of people being able to get your information without your permission. The downside is if your computer dies or if the hard drive or the USB stick gets corrupted, it can be really hard to retain that information. So that's some food for thought about where you might like to locate your filing system. The decision, really, it's entirely up to you. So step 2, get creative with your file naming. So a wise man once said, don't get cryptic, pretend future you will be drunk, senile, or both when looking at these names. Make them easy to understand. I'm sorry, I can't remember where that is from. I know that it was an architect talking about some architectural filing systems, but I thought that was really good advice. So if you download something from the internet, you know that it often gets downloaded with all these really weird names, like the examples that you can see on the screen now. The chances are that in 3 months, in 6 months, or in 12 months, you're actually not going to know what that means. And the problem is that the title actually has no relevance to the content. There's no way to identify what's inside it by looking at the file name. This means that it's going to be really hard to search for, and you're going to have to open up the file to try and see what's inside. So my advice is be specific about how you're naming things. So here's 2 examples. You could have QUR 791010 TK download. That actually means nothing to you. I'm guessing that's not going to mean anything to you. But instead, this is actually a bank statement of mine. So I would rather name it Bank Statement 2021, and it's from the month of May. So you can see straight away that that's much easier to understand. And then the second example is about a report card. Again, the first file name actually means not much to you, but the second one has much more meaning in relation to its actual contents. So I promise you, when you start naming things accurately, life will get infinitely easier. All right, step 3, declutter. So in the same way that you might do a spring clean on your home, your computer and your admin and your filing and your life admin, it needs spring cleaning too. When you spring clean your house, you actually come across things that you didn't know you have, or you might find that there's things that you just don't need anymore, so you can throw out, and then you have more space and less clutter. It's the same principle with your digital information. So decluttering starts with deleting old files. And sometimes this is really hard for people to do. But if there's information that you just don't need and you're never going to need again, just get rid of it. The next step you can do is archiving. And archiving means that you will grab all the same kind of information together, group it all, and then you're going to put it in a little folder off on its own. That way, when you're looking for something, you don't have to sift through all this old irrelevant data. These are things that you think you might want to delete because it's been a really long time since you've used them, but you're not 100% sure. So the reason that decluttering is so important is because it just reduces the amount of information that you have to go through. All right, so let's recap. So our 3 steps to organizing your life without becoming overwhelmed is to build a filing system, it's to start naming your files accurately, and it's to do a really good spring clean or decluttering. So did you know that the most common question I get is a kind of a Bob the Builder question? My clients are sometimes in such an overwhelmed state. They come to me and they say, Bonnie, can you just fix it? And the answer is yes, I definitely can. And the second most common question I get is, can I do this myself? And how do I know where to start? 2 good questions. So yes, you can get organized, you can get on top of your life admin, and I'm really happy to give you some pointers on how you can get started. So do you remember at the start of my presentation, I said that I would offer you something at the end? Well, right now, there's a link going into the comments, which has that free download I mentioned. Can anybody let me know if that link's gone in there yet? Awesome. It has. That's great. Now, just because I'm always a bit suspect of technology, can somebody click on that link and just let me know that it works? It should pop up with a new browser page. Awesome. Great. Thank you very much. So I'm really glad that you're able to get that now. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you've gained some really practical skills and some ways that you can get on top of your life admin, get organised without becoming overwhelmed. So until we speak again, stay organised. Oh, and don't forget, you can click on that link now.